Thank you. No. Councillor Shanks.
Yeah, look, I'll move it. I'm still in two minds whether or not I'll support it. I guess the reason I'll move it is sort of going back to the workshop that we had as subsequent from me calling a motion to have a workshop to look at some efficiencies. In that workshop, we were discussing time used and, you know, how, you know, there was a general vibe on like, if councillors didn't maybe repeat themselves, we'd get through quicker. And look, you know, in some cases that probably does make sense. But then in saying that, I don't think that's where our time savers are. I really think that there are times when council member reports, which I do believe are very important, don't get me wrong, and pushing them towards the back of the agenda doesn't necessarily lose their importance. The way that the agenda flows at the moment makes sense for public open forum deputations to come in before actually entering into council business. The council member reports don't really actually attribute to the business end of council, in my opinion. And as you might have noticed, I actually don't really report on what I do. I mean, the people that follow know what I'm up to. Not saying that it's a bad thing to be able to put it forward, but I do get to the end of the meeting and sometimes feel a little bit rushed. We're rushing through. And it's quite frustrating when you're getting rushed through on items that you might want to use your 5 minutes. You might want to move the motion and then use your 5 minutes to close, but it's hurry along because we're running out of time. And then you go back to the 25 minutes of the councillors' reports and you go, well, you know what, that would have been fantastic to use that on this item that is really, really important. And I don't mean that to ruffle any feathers. I'm merely just pointing out that, as you might have noticed, I'm all about efficiencies. Right or wrong, I'm not perfect. I'm so inefficient in so many aspects, but I constantly want to look at ways to be able to pick up those efficiencies. This may be one of those items where we might be able to pick up inefficiencies. And I know some of you are probably thinking, well, given the current resignation, we'll probably pick up on some efficiencies by default, but it's not really the point. So look, I'm happy to move it. I'm hopeful that we get a bit of discussion around this. So yeah, look, let's see how it goes.
Councillor Vallelonga, are you happy to second? You're happy to second it? Yeah, I've got some concerns. I actually think this is a really positive part of the meeting. We are community representatives after all. We've been elected to these positions and we do represent the community. And I think that this allows elected members to demonstrate and promote different community initiatives that they may have, they may want to share. So I think it's actually a positive part of the meeting, but that's my personal thoughts. Any discussion, Councillor Fraser and then Councillor Davies.
I agree with point 4, but I don't agree with the other 3 points. So I do like to hear the elected members telling us what they've done, but I have no objections to it coming to the end of the agenda.
Councillor Davies.
Yeah, look, I'm not in support of this motion. I do think it's something that's a valuable part of the meeting to be able to just say, oh, you know, I went to the Gawler Fringe and the staff did a good job and that kind of thing, and to have it early in the meeting where there's still, you know, people sitting in the chamber and that sort of thing, to be able to, you know, to promote that kind of local stuff in our town and that kind of thing. So I think it's a valuable, look, 1 or 2 times it has stretched on to 20 minutes or something, but it's usually 5 minutes or less. It's not a big time sink, but it is one where it's like, I like to be able to say, oh, you know, this event was good, or that kind of thing.
Councillor Hughes.
I've actually noticed I'll be voting against it, but I've actually noticed that when we have a really heavy agenda, we don't spend much time on this, but when we've got more time or less in the agenda, we actually spend more time on this item. And I think it's actually quite healthy as it demonstrates the councillors' connections with the community and the community events. And I think having 5 days and everything else, it's no longer as timely. So yeah, I don't agree at all, and I think it's it does work well. I think councillors have been respectful when we've had really busy agendas to keep this item pretty tight anyway. So yeah, no, I'm quite happy the way things are going, as Councillor Davies has said. I think this is just over restrictive, extra red tape actually, but so yeah, I'll be voting against it.
Gosh. Get you to put your mic on, Paul. Thank you.
I'll be voting against. I think what we've got now is good. I think people can do written reports if they want to, or they can just be spontaneous and talk about what they've done in the community. Like, for example, I had that the meeting with the Gorlin District College. It was a Zoom meeting on Monday night. That's less than 5 days. So I would not have been able to report on that. On that and the wonderful work that they're doing. So it's nice to be able to bring those experiences to the council chamber, and it's more spontaneous. And I don't think people abuse it, so I won't be voting for it. Thank you.
Any other discussion? If not, Councillor Shanks. Where are you, Nathan? There you are. You happy for me to put the motion? Yep. You want to speak? Okay. No? Okay.
Yes, I will speak. Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you. Look, I would be happy to drop out 1, 2, and 3. I hear what elected members are saying, and just to make my point very, very clear, I don't see this as not valuable.
Sorry, you're wrapping up the debate. I'm not sure that we can completely change. Kate, can we change the motion when he's wrapping up the debate?
We did it before. You dropped out a point. As per the discussion that I listened to, I was like, yeah, you know what, we'll drop out a point, and we did it.
Okay. You want to drop out 2, 3, and 4?
1, 2, and 3, leaving 4.
Oh,
would still
I beg
need
your pardon.
approval from the seconder as well.
Councillor Vallelonga? Yeah? Okay.
Now, just if I could speak to that, the reason being is obviously listening to the conversation. I do agree that Councillor Hughes pointed out the red tape. I agree with that. Putting a little bit more onus on the elected member that they have to write a report on what they've been to, and especially if they value that function, the chances are that drops off. So therefore, you potentially could lose the value for the people that do see this as a valuable asset, which I respect. Personally, I would rather not use the time at the start to itemise everything I do in the community to be able to do the business for the community. That's just my own personal opinion, and it's not anything against anyone that has an alternate view. Point 4 does allow this to still be on the agenda. But it does also, it tests the waters. I mean, it is an important function, and having it still there is an important thing. But putting it at the end does allow us to not find ourselves in the position where it's like, you want to speak again. Oh, well, we're running out of time. Oh, we'll have to take that question on notice. Sometimes those are 1 minute, 2 minute things, and it does come down to the minute in those particular circumstances. That's why I do see the merit of this, but it also keeps it on the agenda because, by moving it to there, we're saying that, and if we don't support it, then we're saying that everything at the end of the agenda is not as equally important. I'm merely just moving this to pick up a potential efficiency on council business because the council member report, although good, doesn't do business. It is very good, but but it doesn't do business on the night. And that's my point. So look, let's see if I can get some support, I will, but if not, then it is what it is.
Okay, I'll put that motion. All those in favour, please click green. All those against, click red. It is carried. Thank you. Councillor Shanks, Town of Gawler app.
Yes, members. Look, you've probably seen some email traffic. You've probably been following through. Look, this has been going on for too long. That's the bottom line. I'm glad that we're able to get some figures put forward tonight. It is handy to know. But the fact that it was just grant money is not good enough for this asset not to be doing what it was promised to do. All the way along, you've seen me asking questions on behalf of some ratepayers that are seeming to know a lot more in this space. And it's no offense, you don't know what you don't know. But that's why we need to move forward and be able to get an external consultant in to try and figure out what's going on, because all my attempts have only provided me with a little bit more discomfort that we have a direction, that we know what we're doing with this $215,000 asset that, yes, was funded by taxpayer money. But as we know, something that runs for 3 years, we still have staffing costs. Even just the email exchanges where I'm trying to get the data all has costs to it. Now, the argument there would be, well, Councillor Shanks, stop asking questions. Obviously, that's not going to happen. So we need to get to a point where we can bring in some people that are knowledgeable in this space, because in all honesty, the people in this room, we don't have it. And that's okay. That's all right. We're not expected to be experts in every field, but this thing has been going since 2019 and the onboarding has not happened. That's non-existent. We have functions of the app that haven't happened. There's a whole bunch of things that I believe we've been promised that just haven't come to fruition, and no one seems to be doing anything about it. We need to jump on this, because as we all know, the technology world moves a lot quicker than what we are. 2019, this app came on board. It's now 2021, and we are no closer to figuring it out. There has been some conversation along the way of, well, we can't onboard businesses because we don't have ratepayers onboarded. Maybe we need to start looking at onboarding ratepayers. We're very late. We're very late to the party, and I feel like we're flying a little bit blind. So let's get an external consultant in. Let's get them to look at this, and let's get some options moving forward, because I'm over the arguments now. We have a town asset that is not performing. That's not a good thing. That's not okay. We need to get this town app either performing or stop trying to sell it. Because what we're delving into is the world of marketing. We're trying to be salesmen. We've invented a product that, in my opinion, is not sellable. Otherwise, we would have sold it, right? It's 2021 and we still haven't sold it appropriately. We need to figure out why. It's long overdue. Let's just get on with it and let's figure it out, because there is some merit here. As I've brought to members in the past, the Port Adelaide Enfield, the Port Adelaide app, jump on and have a look. In my opinion, that's a very good town app. There are so many functions on there that our app would benefit from and our community would benefit from. I understand that maybe there was a different model sold to us back in 2019, but it hasn't worked. So let's have a look at it. Let's figure out how we're going to move forward. If we are going to move forward with this product, and let's go on, because I don't want this to be something that just goes to sleep quietly and is on the long list, is on the list of things that council had an attempt at, failed. People don't really know how much it cost us, and they're thinking bad things. Let's be active. And let's make this thing something we can either be proud of or not advance with it. Either way, let's figure it out, because remaining stagnant on this is not kicking any goals for us.
Councillor Vallelonga, you had your hand up. Are you happy to second it? Is that a yes? Yeah. I can't hear you, Jim. Do you want to speak, Jim? You need to, yep, there we are. Beautiful.
I just agree with Nathan that it doesn't work. Let's try and make it work.
Okay, thank you. Now I'm going to go across Councillor Davies and then Councillor Hughes and then Councillor Goldstone in that order. Thank you.
Yeah, so look, I will support this motion. Honestly, I think it's perhaps a little more conciliatory than the kind of motion that I would have put up at this point, because it's been years now at this point for the basic functionality that was part of that was sold. We were going to have, the whole premise behind having this reinventing the wheel solution with a bunch of research and development for, being able to do this and this to be a business solution and to, compete with Uber and all of this kind of thing. It didn't happen. If it didn't happen in the first 2 years, it's not any more likely to happen in the next year. And in the meantime, we have an app that we're paying $2,000 a month in license fees for, that is an inferior performing version of the kind of app that we could just get under the system that's supported by the local government association. At this point, I don't really have any, from the time that this was supposed to launch, anyone here could have enlisted in a full-time degree in design, app design, done a year's course and then designed it themselves. This is not a time frame that is acceptable for the basic functionality of the app. If we can't get the functionality because it's something that's impossible or is something that requires reinventing the wheel as an app, that's something that isn't our business. It's not our job. If it turns out that the basic functionality solution was not available, we need to accept that and say, well, let's just have a version of the app that does the things, reporting vandalism or whatever, that doing rates or whatever, just as some big buttons on the app, the kind of thing that people are regularly using it for. Because this business aspect to it has just, it's not had any sales. The app numbers are apparently so low that we can't get data on it because they say, well, sorry, the numbers are too low for us to report. So look, we need to do something one way or another about this app.
Councillor Hughes.
Yeah, just a question. I've got a couple of questions actually. Do we have a rough idea of how much this report will cost to get a consultant in to do this process?
David or Henry?
Through the chair, I don't have a rough idea at this point in time. I'd need to go to the market and find relevant consultancies and test the market and get pricing back.
Henry?
And the second question was, if someone, probably better if it's Councillor Shanks, explains point 2, what does that actually mean?
Am I allowed to answer that?
Yep, you can.
Okay, so the tender, I'm assuming, and David might be able to correct me here, but the tenderer, the offer that would have came through had features that were sold to us back in 2019 that have not been delivered. I'll give you an example: skinning as you go into a business. There's certain items that were sold that haven't come to fruition. And what I'm saying in point 2 is the contracted features. What did we actually contract in a line with what the tender offer was, and what hasn't been delivered based on that contract? And and as we know, it hasn't been delivered. So what costs, if any, were we awarded in a credit scheme or something?
Okay, thank you.
Does that answer your question? Sort of.
Yep, David's nodding. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, no, thank you. I sort of agree with Councillor Davies on the business side of this app. Certainly isn't delivering, and I don't think any of unfortunately, the businesses in the town have jumped on the app as well. And the connection side of the app is certainly, as Councillor Davies said, it could be something that we could salvage from it. But I do note that we've sort of got a digital person being advertised, and from my understanding with the job description is that may be part of this digital person's role. Is that something that the staff are sort of envisaging from the digital person to actually have a look at the app and its usage?
David Barrett, please.
So through the chair, it's definitely not a skill set of a digital marketing specialist to understand the app technologies, etc. That would be beyond their skill sets. Definitely in terms of marketing within it, yes, and how we could promote business engagement and things like that, yes, that would be part of the role. But in terms of technology behind it, it's not a digital marketing person's role by any stretch.
So this motion is more about the technology of the app, I suppose, and maybe what it could be, what we can get the best, probably from all the money that's been sent on it. Is that probably? I'm probably again asking the mover, which, yeah, I'm just trying to understand the motion.
I won't give the mover any more time to speak.
Yeah, no, okay. I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
I think that's plenty. Now, Councillor Goldstone, I think you're next.
Yep. Look, I don't necessarily disagree with the motion. I would have preferred for it to simply be that a report be provided to council on engaging this external consultant. I had the same question as David had about the cost, how it was going to be funded and so forth, which could also all be included in a report. So I'm a bit one way or the other at the minute. So if supporting the motion without all the costs and where that cost is going to, or how it's going to be funded, is a bit problematic. So yeah, not too sure where I stand at the moment.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Councillor Tosh, I think you're next.
Look, yeah, I've got the same concerns about the cost and actually what this will try to achieve. So I would prefer if we just had a report back, so then we could make a decision about what we actually want to do and the cost of that. So I probably won't be voting for this. Thank you.
There's no further discussion. Nathan, you can close the debate.
Look, taking on board the elected members' sentiment there, what if I turned around, if I could, Mayor, that council provides a report on engaging an external consultant to conduct? So just putting that sentence in there does sort of help the elected members' sentiment around cost.
Nathan, how about we wordsmith that council provides a report on engaging
an external consultant to conduct. So you're not changing anything. All we're doing is just adding that second step that I think would offer a little bit of comfort to elected members, which I'm taking on board. And look, I can agree with.
I just want to if I can, just want to wordsmith that first line a little bit more. So the council provides a report on engaging to conduct a review of the Gawler Connected app, which will you just got and provide a report on. So which will report on, or
which will provide a report on, but not limited to the following. Yeah, that sounds fine.
You happy with that? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. keep going.
Okay.
Sorry about that. But
No, look, good debate, and I think that's where that flexibility does allow us to get to a motion that maybe secures a bit more of the room, because this is very important, to be honest. We do need to get into this. We're behind, as David's pointed out. Even with a digital marketing officer, which, as you know, I'm not really for that methodology, but even with the digital marketer, you need the appropriate data to be able to know how to sell it. I've learned a lot through asking all these questions and talking to people in these sorts of spaces. And we don't even have access to what we need to be able to sell it. That's the crux of it. And that's not just an opinion. That's what it is. That's fact. We don't know daily usage. We don't know what's working and what's not. We don't have an analytics process that's tied to the app that captures these traffic points to know where we're strong and where we're weak. And the data that we do have is also very poor as well, based on numbers for an asset that's 3 years old. Imagine if we had a playground that we spent taxpayer money, 215 grand on it, and we only had these sorts of numbers using it. We would be so disappointed. We'd be trying to figure out why. We need to look into this because it's not the best look for us, one. And two, the app idea actually has some merit. It's just we've been sold the wrong product, in my opinion. So and again, going around and listening to the conversations of the room, we don't have the knowledge. And I'm in that group. I'm in the group of being uneducated in this space to a degree as well. I've only learnt what I've learnt by delving into it, but I've maxed out my knowledge. And now to be able to sell it to the rest of you, that we need to be able to work on this asset and really either turn it into something or not advance with it, we need that extra support and that knowledge to come in. So yeah, look, I hope that these changes do provide that layer of comfort that some elected members are looking for, and I hope I can get some full support so we can actually get something happening with a town asset, because that's what this app is, and it's not doing anything right now. Thank you.
thank you. I'll put that motion. All those in favour, please click green. All those against, click red. That's carried. Thank you. Now, I'm going to suggest something, elected members. We have a motion by Councillor Hughes and a motion by Councillor Koch, who are here. Now, I would suggest we move them forward, 16.7 and 16.8, so we can attempt to deal with them before we run out of time. But we'll need a motion to move that forward. Happy to do that, Councillor Goldstone. Moved by Councillor Goldstone, seconded by Councillor Shanks. So that's 16.7 and 16.8.
Sorry, question there. Question,
Yep.
Mayor, if I could. If we run out of time and Councillor Tooley moved these motions as a councillor, these go on to the next agenda. He is no longer a councillor.
He's not a councillor now.
Yes, but he was when he moved these motions, and they're on the agenda.
Yeah.
Are they just going to by default drop off?
Somebody else could put them forward. We'll check on that, but we do have two councillors here tonight.
Yeah, look, I get the reasoning.
So I'm gonna ask for a seconder for you seconded, Councillor Hughes, that we move these two forward. I'm going to put that motion that we move 16.7 and 16.8 forward. All those in favour, please click green. That motion is carried. So Councillor Hughes, you can present your motion. Thank you.
Yeah, just quickly.
Just carried. Thank you. Sorry, Kate. Yeah, carried. Sorry,
Yeah.
sorry, Dave.
That's all right. Yeah, my motion is just asking for a report to the next IES meeting, or to a future IES meeting, basically based on some of the works that it's not just Adelaide City Council that's done this, but other councils have done a lot of work on their street trees and valuing their street trees and putting values, and also doing some work on rolling out some really quite innovative programs as far as asset management and trees go. So it'd be really, I think, beneficial to our town. The work that council staff have already done, where they've identified gaps in our street trees and some strategies to fill those gaps, I think is really important. So it's just an item I think would be a good to keep moving in this area and to get some more trees around and out on our streetscapes as well. There are some really big empty spaces on our streets as well, where there's no street trees at all, which council staff have reported on. So yeah, I'd ask for your support in this motion.
Councillor Kosh, are you happy to second?
Yeah, happy to second that. I mean, this is sort of right up my alley, being an arborist. Yeah, it's important that you've actually correctly valued trees. It's unfortunate, sort of unfortunate, but it isn't. But sometimes when we put a monetary value on trees, people value them more, especially with developers, because developers start looking at trees and you actually give them a value, that they might treat them a bit differently, or they may compensate council a lot better if a tree is removed. I mean, I've had some experience in this. I've used the Burnley method to value trees, and that can put trees up in the tens of thousands of dollars. In particular, that revolves around the species, the age, and its location. So there's a lot of different factors that come into how we value trees, and it'd be good to start to implement that in our town, so people start to really value our trees. Thank you.
Councillor Fraser and Councillor and Deputy Mayor.
Yes, I'll vote for this. This is really just an extension of the work that the town of Gawler has already done on trees. So yeah, I think this is a good idea.
Deputy Mayor.
Yeah, Mayor Karen, as Councillor Fraser just said, we've just spent quite a lot of money on an investigation into the trees and that, and we've had a workshop on it and all that sort of thing. I'm just wondering, like, how much can we put onto this business about trees? And we all know that the tree situation around our town, as Councillor Hughes has said, there is a number of clear spots and that could have them. But there's also a lot of trees that should come down. I mean, that was found out on the weekend when a couple of council trees fell on the houses up in Williston. They're very happy at the moment, I can tell you. So there needs to be some work come out of the amount of money that's been spent on, as Councillor Fraser said, those recent surveys and workshops that we had. We haven't really heard much about that. If this adds to that, well, then I'll agree with it. But we've got some very unhealthy trees that are ready to fall down like they did on the weekend. And hopefully we can make our place a greener place and a more exciting place to look at, and leave some of them beautiful pepper trees there along the riverbanks.
Councillor Shanks.
I had a peppercorn tree count going, and I'm sad that I only got one from Brian there. I was expecting a lot more. Just picking up on some of the points, the way that I read this motion is Councillor Hughes, and I apologise for speaking for you here, Councillor Hughes, but you're actually looking at collating all the work that we've already done. And then also looking at all the work we've done through a lens of the ability to add a calling value to that work as well. I agree that we have some beautiful streets in the town of Gawler. We have really nice tree placements, but then equally we are lacking in some areas. I'm always humbled when you get a bit elevated in the town of Gawler and you look over and you see trees. Like, we do have a nice tree canopy, but I'd love to see a value put to that on calling properties, and it does buy into our climate activism, and it does put a value to that. So I do see the value in this motion. So yeah, look, I won't keep on talking because Brian's already hurrying me along. But look, I'm happy to support this because I think it's a good move forward. So yeah.
Okay, any other discussion? If not, Councillor Hughes, you happy for me to put the motion? I'll put that motion. All those in favour, please click green. All those against, click red. It is carried. Thank you. Now, Councillor Koch, you want to present your motion for a couple of minutes? You need to turn your mic on.
Okay, yeah, thank you. Look, essentially, this is to do with the safety of the junior students at Gawler District. After a management committee meeting, I went down and actually looked at the site, and there is parking time, limited parking time, but it is a little bit troublesome, I think. There could be some improvements there. And I'm hoping if we could just get a report to look at some of the improvements. For example, we might maybe lobby to have lights like we do at Emmanuel on Lyndoch Road, for example, and speed signs. That would help. And there's also the entrance in and out of the junior school parking area. Parents are crossing over there. There's a real problem there where kids and parents are crossing over that driveway. So there might be something that we can do there, but it would be in consultation with DEX and the state government plus us somehow as well. So I'm just hoping to get support there to improve the safety outcomes for the junior students at the college. Thank you.
You happy to second, Cody, Councillor Davies?
Nothing to add.
Any other discussion on this matter? Councillor Shanks?
Just quickly to just point out, remember how I said I feel rushed? Now I support this. Thank you.
No problem. Any other discussion? If not, I'm going to put the motion. You can all vote for the motion or vote against, as is your wish. It is carried. Thank you. So it is now 11 o'clock. Are there any motions without notice? It's 11 o'clock, so I'm happy to accept. I think we probably should finish the meeting, or I'm happy to accept an adjournment and we can deal with these other matters that are on the agenda at a future meeting. Councillor Shanks, are you happy to adjourn the meeting? Yep. So that's a formal motion. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Davies, that we adjourn the meeting. You happy to second, Councillor Davies? Yep. Although, and to the next council meeting or a future council meeting? Future or next? Oh, I don't know what you say. What did you say, Nathan?
Future.
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 That gives us flexibility. Thank you. All those in favour of this motion, please show. All those against, please show. It is carried unanimously. So we have adjourned the meeting. Thanks everyone for a really interesting meeting. Lots of discussion on many different matters. Have a great night, won't you? We'll see you soon.